Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? I'm the EFC, this is Blue Lines TV. Welcome to another 5 talking points video after our 2-1 loss against Wolves last night. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about reactionary fans and pundits, our fullbacks, why Cesc needs to adapt, is Sarri willing to adapt, and to end things, I'm going to be talking about Eden Hazard and why his form has been a little bit patchy. But you guys, if you like the content I do, smash that like button, help me get more than 500 likes for today's video, and press the bell notification button as well to stay tuned to all things Blue Lines TV. Now, this video was going to be completely different because I was going to be talking about Ruben, but you know, this thing's been playing on the back of my mind, and that's the whole thing in regards to reactionary fans and pundits. And honestly, I tweeted this earlier, but I really feel like we've got the most reactionary, short-term fans in the country. Already, people think they know more than Sarri, and they're telling Sarri what's wrong with the system, even though his system has a history of showing that it does work. And it's like they pick and choose when they're going to use history to help their opinion. And honestly, just look at what he did with Napoli these past 3 years. Everything's there. The proof's in the pudding. But the popular thing coming out now is that Sarri is too one-dimensional, and he needs to have a plan B, and he needs to switch things up. But the most baffling thing is people creating these mental gymnastics to really show why Conte is missed and why he would be doing much better than Sarri right now. And it's like, have you forgotten that we've only lost 2 games this season? And it gets me thinking, you know, why are so many people in the fan base so reactionary? And why do they feel so entitled? Because it's kind of bordering on the line of being delusional. Now hear me out for a second. I get their thinking to a certain extent. If you look at our recent history since Roman took over, we've had a steady supply of trophies and titles. But ask yourself, why aren't we winning more consistently? Already at the start of this decade, we've been in the Europa League 2 times, once qualifying obviously from getting knocked out from the Champions League, and obviously qualifying again last season under Conte. And we've actually gone a whole season this decade without actually qualifying for any European football. Still, 7 trophies over the past 9 years is still a decent steady record. But the issue is that it's never sustained, and wins and trophies always come at a cost. And when you favour this type of short-term approach, the costs do become greater and they become bigger. Think of the amount of money we've missed out on not being able to qualify for the Champions League. Think of the players we weren't able to sign because we can't afford them. Look at how our transfer policy is constantly changing every season. This is what happens when there's no sustainability at a club. And this is exactly why we signed Sarri in the first place. This is why we struggled and suffered so much throughout the summer to sign this guy. We're going to be approaching the next decade soon, and we need a much more sustainable approach to really try and challenge for things in the future. And that's what Sarri brings with his football and his methods. And the sustainability that Sarri's going to bring isn't going to be from players we sign or how much money we spend, but it comes from the philosophy and having that tactical idea at the club that's really going to benefit us in the future. Sarri was signed to kickstart the new era for this club, because really this decade, with the amount of money we've spent, it hasn't been good enough. And the recent criticism that Sarri's getting is extremely short-sighted, and I think it's quite arrogant. Yeah, defeats suck, all of us feel them, I don't need to explain how a defeat feels, but no success is built without struggle. We've seen other teams do that just as well. Look at Man United when Sir Alex first came, they struggled for 4 seasons. Look at Pep Guardiola during this first season at Man City as well. He was constantly getting criticised himself. Now look at them now. By far the best team in the country. And look at how guys like Klopp and Pochettino transformed how Liverpool and Tottenham were. And come on you guys, you know, we're used to suffering. Are you forgetting how we were under Conte? So I don't understand all of a sudden why this new suffering under Sarri is such a bad extreme thing. There's like no parity to anything. I keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep saying it throughout the entire season. Believe in the damn process. Believe in it. In the future, one day you'll look back, you're going to laugh at yourself. You're going to think, how the hell could I be so stupid and reactionary? Just think of the long term. Now moving on to the second talking point, and I need to talk about our fullback situation. I'm constantly talking about this all the time. It's not getting better, and it's an area in which it's weakening the team. Obviously, you guys can see the stat beside me. You can see just how poor our crosses have been this season, And you look at the delivery coming from Aspie and Alonso, Aspie is constantly hitting his first man, and Alonso just can't cross. And when you really analyse our game, what do our fullbacks really provide for the team? Now, earlier this season against teams that didn't press, our fullbacks were safeguarded. But now teams are starting to press, use mid-block tactics, and attack the spaces in behind our fullbacks. They're really struggling a lot now, and it's really affecting our defensive structure. Now, why does this keep happening? Well, that's because these fullbacks aren't press resistant, they're not extremely technical players as well, they don't have the ability to take responsibility of the ball and beat a man consistently, and their crossing delivery is one-dimensional. Now, I put out a tweet yesterday talking about Callum Hudson-Odoi, that game against PLOK when he was moved to the right hand side. His first cross from that side brings the goal. We've never seen that type of crossing technique from that side. It's always that same constant flat delivery from Aspie, and from Alonso it's actually 10 times worse. And I know I keep making this point a lot, but when you look at all the top teams and the profiles of their fullbacks, look at what they possess and compare them to our fullbacks. Now, will our fullbacks get in their teams? No. Do our fullbacks even have the attributes that top teams' fullbacks have? No. And you really have to understand what fullbacks bring to the top teams, and if you think about it, they're basically like having additional wingers in the offensive phase. Now with big teams, and because they constantly come up against teams that park the bus and are very defensive, it becomes important that you are able to create overloads in the final third, and normally that tends to happen out wide where you can stretch the play, and by stretching the play and creating those overloads and those overlapping runs, you can obviously affect the defensive structure of the opposition team. Now, is that something that Alonso and Aspie provides? No. And with fullbacks like this, constantly needing attacking players to stay out wide to get forward, it really hampers what our attacking players can do. And to be honest, it's kind of crazy that both these guys got very long contracts. I'm going to be speaking about this in the future because there's a much bigger story to this that we're not thinking about right now. But for God's sake, I think it's time now that Sarri starts to experiment a bit more with Zappacosta and Emerson. Yes, I know they're not the most complete players, but with their attributes offensively, it does help. For the third talking point, I'm going to be talking about Cesc and Jorginho, just to clarify a few things. Now, when it comes to Cesc, I actually like him. I feel that he's always been quite underrated. If you guys have been watching my channel for the past few years, you would know that I do praise Cesc a lot. But with this system under Sarri, we like to use a Regista player right now, and in my personal opinion, yes, even though Fabregas has the ability to play fantastic, amazing through balls, he's one of the best at that. Yes, we all know that technically Cesc is better than Jorginho, but when it comes to the tactical side of the Regista role, Cesc just isn't performing. I don't think it's because he can't. I think he's kind of playing towards himself. He's playing for himself too much, and he's not thinking about the team or his tactical responsibilities. Now, the point I made yesterday was that Cesc kept leaving possession all the time to get forward. Now, I understand the context near the final 10 minutes of the game. That makes a lot of sense, but you can't constantly do that throughout the game. And it's not the first time Cesc has done that. He did the same thing against Derby. And of course, you know, if teams are going to close you down, you are going to leave your position at times. But normally, someone like Kante or Ruben will just drop deeper to make up for that. But the thing Cesc is doing is he's playing for himself. The amount of times he kept getting to the opposition area every single time, that affects our transitional play, because the beauty of having Jorginho in this role is that if we lose possession of the ball and we receive it again, he helps kickstart the attacks again. And another thing that Cesc kept doing was he kept spamming through balls every single time. Yes, some of them did come off and they were fantastic, but you can't constantly do this every single time, because most times players weren't going to receive the ball. They were overly ambitious. I was seeing through balls to Pedro. Pedro is not going to out-strengthen Wolves defender and receive the ball in the air. Giroud wasn't going to do anything with some of the service, and it just came across as too naive. Now look at how we conceded those goals. We conceded them because we lost the tempo and control of the game. Wolves came back with 2 quick-fire goals, and that came because there was no tempo to our game. And you would expect that after the first goal we conceded, we would try to regroup and keep the control of the game. And I think this is why Sarri was so disappointed. He said that during the first 55 minutes we were great, but after the goals we just completely fell apart for no reason. It wasn't good enough, and that's because the tempo and control was lost in the game. And because you constantly lose tempo and control, you keep giving possession to Wolves, And it's no surprise that they are going to do things on the counter-attack, especially if you're losing possession of the ball in your own half. You know, with someone like the Regista, they help provide that stability to the team in the central areas. He's the passing option for every single player in the team. If you're not in that position consistently, you're going to affect the passing options for your teammates, and it's no surprise why our fullbacks are going to constantly lose possession of the ball. But you guys in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions on this point I made. Do you think that I'm missing the point? Maybe you can provide greater context. Let me know below. Moving on to the fourth talking point, that's in regards to Eden Hazard and what's happened to Hazard so far. Now, there is context I can provide to this. Let's not forget, Hazard has faced a lot of small injury problems, meaning that he's not going to be at 100% match fitness. But when Hazard came back, our entire team faced a new problem, and that was coming up against opposition teams using a mid-block tactic and really trying to force us wide by closing our passing lanes. Now, because of this and because our fullbacks aren't technically proficient, it's meaning that Hazard has to constantly drift out wide to receive the ball, and it's completely contradictory to how he was playing at the start of the season, where he was really affecting the game essentially, and he was able to actually get on the end of a lot of through balls and passes because he was able to make runs through the middle. I'm sorry, I don't want to see Alonso making runs in the middle. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 times a season it's going to pay off and he might get an important goal, but I don't think it's worth the risk in my opinion. We need that movement in the final thirds, and our fullbacks just aren't providing that. Now, yesterday against Wolves, I saw something quite interesting, and that was Ruben and Eden's link-up play together. And I was seeing that it was making quite a lot of sense. Now with Ruben, one of his best abilities is that he's able to beat a man like he is a winger, and because he's able to actually not lose possession of the ball and run at tight spaces and run through tight spaces, it means that he's actually going to create space for guys like Hazard, and Hazard and him were very complementary in their game style yesterday. And I feel like Ruben could really help with Eden getting more space in the game, but really to really help give more balance to that left hand side, it's time to start looking at Emerson. Yes, he might not be the most complete player, but the guy had a lot of great potential, especially during that season at Roma. It can't have all just gone to waste all of a sudden. I feel like Sarri has to think of trying to bring this guy slowly in the team, or if not, we have to start considering signing a new left back. And to end with the final point, that's in regards to Sarri and if he's willing to adapt. Personally, I feel this is a complete non-issue. I'm seeing people telling Sarri to come up with a plan B, as if we've even mastered this system just yet. So are people implying that we give up everything and find a new solution? Sarri has already demonstrated his willingness to change things. Yes, we might not have won games from them, but they've been very positive changes. I mean, for example, against Spurs, using a strikerless front three at a time. Yesterday against Wolves, bringing on Kovacic for Kante, even though I'm thinking Sarri's thinking, you know what, let me save this guy for the game against Man City as well. But you might be thinking, but Nini, that's not the point we're making. Our point is, when we make this point, is that why doesn't Sarri not use Morata or Alonso? Now, is it really as simple as that? If we don't use Morata, we've got Giroud. Do we have a world-class striker in the team behind him? Of course not. And down that left-hand side, even though Alonso isn't perfect, has Emerson shown enough so far to demonstrate that he should be starting ahead of him? I think with Sarri, he seems to be pretty fair at times, and I feel that if he was seeing the right things from Emerson, then maybe he would be considering him more. The question isn't, does Sarri need to adapt? The real question is, us fans need to be patient and wait for the good times to come. Just think about it. We went from a pragmatic defensive style last season, and overnight we went to an attacking, high-pressing system. That's not going to take 1 or 2 weeks to fix. And let's be realistic. Realistically this season, we might lose 5 to 8 games. But does that mean that's a disaster? Of course not. I've been saying this quote every single time, and I feel like I'll be using the same quote throughout the season. And that quote is, believe in the process. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to keep it moving. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Line CV. Signing out.